In medieval Europe, your future was written in the dirt. If you were born a peasant, you'd likely die a peasant. But what if, just maybe, you didn't? Could a poor farmer actually rise through the ranks and become a knight? The knight, the elite warrior of the Middle Ages, armoured, respected, feared. But knighthood wasn't just about skill with a sword. It was a social class, a legal status, a symbol of noble birth. Or so we're told. Most knights began their journey as boys in noble households. At around 7 years old, you'd become a page, serving and learning manners, horsemanship, and combat basics. At 14, you became a squire, personal assistant to a knight. You'd clean armour, tend to horses, do just about whatever he asked, and train constantly. Then, at 21, if you proved yourself, you'd be knighted, often in a grand ceremony, blessed by the church, and sometimes just after surviving a battle. But here's the catch. That path was only open if you were already of noble blood. For a peasant, even dreaming of knighthood was absurd. You couldn't afford armour, or a horse, or the dozens of servants needed to maintain both. A full suit of armour might cost more than a lifetime's income. Even a warhorse could bankrupt a village. And then, there were the laws. Sumptuary laws strictly controlled what people could wear, own, or display based on their class. Even if a peasant could somehow afford armour or a horse, the law might still forbid them from using it. It wasn't just poverty holding them back. It was a system itself. Were there exceptions? Yes, and no. There were cracks in the armour of the system, and in the chaos of war, some peasants slipped through. A few men, peasants or common soldiers, rose by sheer bravery. On the battlefield, where titles didn't matter and lives were on the line, merit occasionally trumped bloodline. Some lords knighted soldiers who saved their lives. Others rewarded loyalty or military brilliance. Especially during the 100 Years' War and the Crusades, battlefield promotions were rare, but real. One example is John Hawkwood, originally a tailor's son from Essex. He rose through the ranks in Edward III's campaigns, and eventually became a knight and leader of the feared White Company mercenaries in Italy. While not all records confirm a formal knighting, he was treated as one, and received noble patronage. And then there were those few battlefield moments. During the Battle of Agincourt, it's said that King Henry V personally knighted common soldiers who had shown exceptional bravery. Some of them archers and men-at-arms, not nobles. At the Battle of Poitiers, the Black Prince knighted several soldiers on the field, not all of them of high birth. These men weren't always true peasants, but they weren't aristocrats either. They rose through courage, skill, and sheer survival. And then there was William Marshall. He wasn't born into poverty, but his family was disgraced. His father, John Marshall, infamously betrayed King Stephen during a civil war known as the Anarchy. As part of a truce, young William was handed over to Stephen as a hostage, a guarantee of peace. But John broke the deal anyway. When the king threatened to kill the boy, John coldly replied, "I still had the hammers and anvils to forge more sons." Miraculously, Stephen spared William. Despite his family's ruined reputation, William Marshall rose to become one of the most legendary knights in English history, serving 4 kings and eventually becoming regent of the realm. So while a poor peasant being knighted was extremely rare, it wasn't impossible. In war, sometimes merit mattered more than blood. Religious military orders like the Knights Templar or Hospitallers sometimes bent the rules. Men of lower birth could join these holy brotherhoods and achieve status through piety, discipline, and sacrifice. But they didn't become knights in the traditional landed sense. They were warriors, but without the fancy estate. Let's say you're a peasant in 14th century England. You're strong, brave, and skilled with a bow or a sword. So what's your best shot? You could join what was known as a lord's retinue, a sort of medieval support team. Survive enough battles and earn his trust. Maybe save his life. And if you're lucky, you might be knighted in the field. You might even earn a small plot of land. But you'll always be a knight with an asterisk, born outside the club. So, could a peasant become a knight? Technically, yes. Realistically, almost never. But in the violent, chaotic world of the Middle Ages, where kings fell, plagues raged, and battles decided fates, sometimes the impossible happened. Sometimes the mud made metal. In a world built on walls, a few still climbed them.